The winter of 2023 brought an unusual chill to the streets of Los Angeles, with temperatures dropping to near freezing levels that caught many residents off guard. For NBA legend Shaquille O'Neal, it was supposed to be just another evening drive home after a late-night TV recording session. Little did he know that this ordinary night would transform into an extraordinary moment of human compassion. As Shaq cruised down the dimly lit streets of downtown LA in his custom SUV, something caught his eye near a bus stop. Through the misty air, he spotted a small figure huddled against the glass shelter, shivering uncontrollably. The sight made him slow down, his instincts telling him something wasn't right. It was almost midnight, and no child should be out alone in such weather. Without hesitation, the 7'1" basketball icon pulled over, his vehicle's headlights illuminating the scene. As he stepped out, his massive frame cast a shadow that seemed to stretch across the entire street. The child, a boy no more than 8 years old, looked up with a mixture of fear and wonder as the gentle giant approached. "Hey little man, are you okay?" Shaq's deep voice carried genuine concern as he crouched down to the boy's level, trying to appear less intimidating despite his size. The child, wearing only a thin sweater and jeans, was trembling from the cold. His shoes were worn, and his clothes showed signs of extended wear. The boy, who would later be known as Tommy, initially hesitated to speak. His small hands were blue from the cold, and his teeth chattered as he tried to form words. Shaq noticed the boy clutching a small backpack tightly to his chest, like it contained everything precious in his world. I'm lost," Tommy finally managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. "Mom works at the diner, but it closed early because of the cold. I waited, but she didn't come." Tears began forming in his eyes, reflecting the streetlights above. Shaq's heart sank. Having grown up in a challenging environment himself, he understood the struggles of working families all too well. Without overthinking, he removed his own warm jacket, a custom-made piece that looked like a blanket on the small boy, and wrapped it around Tommy's shoulders. "Let's get you somewhere warm, and we'll figure this out together," Shaq said, his voice carrying the warmth that had made him beloved both on and off the basketball court. He reached for his phone to contact the local authorities, knowing they needed to handle this situation properly. As they waited in his heated car, Shaq did what he did best: he made the scared child feel safe. He shared stories about his own childhood, about times when he felt lost and afraid, and how there were always good people willing to help if you just gave them a chance. Tommy slowly began to open up, sharing that his mother worked 2 jobs to keep their small family afloat. Within 20 minutes, police officers arrived, and through their network, they quickly located Tommy's mother. She had been frantically searching the area, having rushed to the bus stop as soon as she learned the diner was closing early. When she arrived at the scene, the sight of her son safe in the NBA legend's car brought tears of relief to her eyes. The reunion between mother and child moved everyone present. Tommy's mother, a hardworking single parent, couldn't stop thanking Shaq through her tears. But the basketball star wasn't done yet. In typical Shaq fashion, he knew this was an opportunity to do more than just a one-time rescue. The gentle giant reached into his wallet and handed his business card to Tommy's mother. "Call my office tomorrow," he said with his characteristic warm smile. "Let's talk about making sure Tommy has a safe place to go after school." He knew that one act of kindness, while important, wasn't enough to address the underlying challenges this family faced. As Shaq watched Tommy and his mother drive away with a police escort, he remained thoughtful. The vulnerability of that moment, finding a cold, scared child on the streets of a city as prosperous as Los Angeles, reminded him of the responsibility that came with his platform and success. The story might have ended there, but Shaq's encounter with Tommy sparked something bigger. In the days that followed, he worked with his foundation to establish a new after-school program in Tommy's neighborhood, ensuring that no child would have to wait alone in the cold again. The program would provide a safe, warm space for kids whose parents worked late shifts, offering homework help, hot meals, and most importantly, a community of support. Tommy's story became a catalyst for change, proving that sometimes the most meaningful moments in life come when we least expect them, on ordinary nights that transform into extraordinary opportunities to make a difference. The basketball legend's spontaneous act of kindness had not only saved one child from the cold but had set in motion a wave of positive change that would impact countless other families facing similar challenges. The Los Angeles winter night that brought Shaq and Tommy together served as a powerful reminder that heroes don't always wear capes, sometimes they're just regular people who choose to stop and help when they see someone in need. For Tommy, the memory of that cold night would forever be warmed by the kindness of a stranger who became so much more than just a basketball legend. In the weeks following that fateful night, the story of Shaq's encounter with Tommy began to spread throughout Los Angeles, not through flashy headlines or viral videos, but through quiet conversations and meaningful actions. The basketball legend had specifically asked the media to respect the family's privacy, understanding that real change happens away from the spotlight. Tommy's mother, who had been struggling to balance her work at the diner with a second job cleaning offices, found herself overwhelmed by the support that followed. Shaq's foundation didn't just provide assistance, they created opportunities. Through their network, they helped her secure a better-paying single job with regular hours at a local community center, allowing her to spend more time with her son. The transformation in Tommy's life was remarkable. No longer did he have to spend long hours waiting alone. Instead, he became one of the first children to attend the newly established Warm Haven after-school program. The center, housed in a renovated community building, quickly became a second home for dozens of children in similar situations. One afternoon, as Shaq made one of his regular visits to the center, he found Tommy helping a younger child with homework. The sight brought a smile to his face. The scared boy from that cold night had blossomed into a confident young leader. "You know," Tommy said when he spotted Shaq, "I want to be tall like you when I grow up." Shaq's laugh echoed through the room as he responded, "Being tall is nice, little man, but having a big heart, that's what really matters." The impact of that night rippled far beyond Tommy and his mother. Other NBA players and local businesses began to take notice of the Warm Haven initiative. What started as one center soon expanded to 3 locations across Los Angeles, each serving as a safe space for children whose parents worked non-traditional hours. But it wasn't just about providing a physical space. Shaq ensured that each center offered more than just basic supervision. They brought in retired teachers to help with homework, local chefs to provide nutritious meals, and most importantly, created a sense of community where children could thrive. The centers became places where kids could dream big while staying grounded in their studies and personal development. During one community gathering at the center, Tommy's mother shared her story with other parents. Her voice trembled as she recalled that cold night, but her eyes shone with determination as she described how the experience had changed their lives. "Sometimes angels come in unexpected packages," she said, glancing at Shaq with gratitude. "Sometimes they're 7 feet tall and wear size 22 shoes." The story took another meaningful turn when local business owners, inspired by Shaq's initiative, began offering job training and employment opportunities to parents in similar situations. A local tech company started a program teaching basic computer skills, while a restaurant chain created flexible schedules specifically for single parents. The community was learning that when one person steps up to help, others often follow suit. Tommy's experience became a catalyst for addressing the broader issue of childcare accessibility in Los Angeles. City officials, moved by the success of the Warm Haven programs, began examining policies to better support working families. The conversation shifted from treating symptoms to addressing root causes, proving that sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest moments of compassion. As winter approached again, Shaq organized a special event at the original Warm Haven Center. Children from all 3 locations gathered for an evening of celebrations and sharing stories. Tommy, now standing a bit taller and speaking with confidence, shared his story with the other kids. Being cold and alone was scary, he admitted, but sometimes the worst moments can lead to the best changes. The evening culminated with Shaq announcing a new scholarship program for the children attending the centers. "Education is the key that opens all doors," he told the gathered families, his voice carrying the same warmth it had on that cold night a year ago. "And we're going to make sure every child here has access to that key." Looking around the room filled with happy faces, Shaq reflected on how a simple act of stopping his car that night had sparked such profound change. The children weren't just safe and warm, they were thriving, dreaming, and building futures filled with possibility. It was a powerful reminder that sometimes the most impactful stories aren't about grand gestures or dramatic rescues, but about the simple choice to stop and help another human being in need. As the evening wound down, Tommy approached Shaq with a drawing he had made. It showed two figures, one very tall and one small, standing together under a streetlight. "This is from that night," Tommy explained, "when everything changed." Shaq carefully folded the drawing and tucked it into his jacket, knowing that sometimes the smallest gestures carry the biggest meanings. The legacy of that cold Los Angeles night continued to grow, touching more lives than anyone could have imagined. It stood as a testament to the fact that real-life heroes don't always wear capes or make headlines, sometimes they simply make the choice to stop, to care, and to take action when they see someone in need. The story of Shaq and Tommy's chance encounter began to take on new dimensions as spring bloomed in Los Angeles. What started as a simple act of kindness had grown into a movement that was quietly transforming lives across the city. But perhaps the most remarkable changes were happening in the day-to-day moments that rarely made headlines. One sunny afternoon, Shaq received an unexpected call from Tommy's teacher. The boy, once shy and withdrawn, had given a presentation to his class about community heroes. Instead of talking about superheroes or famous athletes, Tommy spoke about the night janitor at Warm Haven who always left encouraging notes for the kids, and the elderly volunteer who taught them chess. His teacher was moved to tears by Tommy's ability to see heroism in everyday acts of kindness. The call prompted Shaq to pay another visit to the center, this time bringing along some of his old NBA teammates. They found the place buzzing with activity, children working on homework, others playing basketball in the small courtyard, and a group gathered around a table learning to code on donated laptops. The transformation from that cold night was striking. In one corner, Tommy was helping a new child who reminded Shaq of himself from that first night, nervous, uncertain, and trying to be brave. "You know what helped me?" Tommy was saying to the newcomer. "Knowing that it's okay to need help sometimes. Even big guys like Shaq needed help when they were kids." The basketball legend watched from the doorway, not wanting to interrupt the moment. He remembered his own childhood in Newark, New Jersey, where community support had helped shape his future. Now, seeing Tommy pass on that same spirit of support to others, Shaq felt a profound sense of how single moments could create endless ripples of change. The Warm Haven program had evolved beyond its original mission. Local artists began volunteering to teach art classes, creating vibrant murals that transformed the center's walls into galleries of hope and inspiration. A retired librarian started a reading program, bringing books that reflected the children's own experiences and dreams. The centers became more than just safe spaces, they were becoming incubators of possibility. Tommy's mother, now working as an administrator at one of the centers, had become a mentor to other parents facing similar challenges. She organized support groups where parents could share resources, advice, and encouragement. "When you've been lifted up," she often said, "you learn how to lift others." The impact extended into the broader community in unexpected ways. Local businesses that had initially supported the program began reporting positive changes in their own practices. A grocery store owner, inspired by the program's success, started a food recovery initiative to ensure no child went hungry. A local gym offered free memberships to parents from the program, understanding that self-care was crucial for those working hard to support their families. One particularly touching moment came when Tommy and several other children organized a surprise celebration for Shaq's birthday. They had secretly worked for weeks, creating handmade cards and preparing a special performance. The children sang a song they had written themselves, with lyrics about how one person's kindness could light up the darkness. Shaq, known for his larger-than-life personality, found himself speechless. The walls were decorated with pictures drawn by the children, each showing different moments of kindness they had witnessed or experienced. Tommy's drawing of that first night under the streetlight held a special place in the center of the display. The celebration turned into an impromptu storytelling session, with children and parents sharing how their lives had changed over the past months. One parent spoke about returning to school to finish their degree, inspired by the community's support. Another talked about how their child's grades had improved dramatically since joining the program. Each story was a testament to the power of community and connection. As the party wound down, Tommy pulled Shaq aside to show him something special, a journal he had been keeping. Inside were stories of kindness he witnessed every day, proving that the spirit of that cold night had taken root and was growing in ways no one could have predicted. "I want to write a book someday," Tommy confided, about how helping one person can help everybody. The journal entries revealed a profound truth about community transformation, that while big gestures might spark change, it was the small, daily acts of kindness that kept the flame alive. From the security guard who learned every child's name to the volunteer who brought extra snacks for kids who might be hungry, each person was contributing to a tapestry of care and support. Looking through Tommy's journal, Shaq realized that the true story wasn't just about him helping a cold, lost child that night. It was about how that moment had awakened something in the community, a reminder that we all have the power to make a difference in someone's life, and that those differences can grow into movements that transform entire communities. As the sun set over Los Angeles that evening, casting long shadows across the center's playground, Shaq watched Tommy teaching younger kids how to dribble a basketball. The boy's patient instruction and encouraging words echoed the kindness he had received that cold night, proving that compassion, like a torch, burns brightest when passed from one hand to another. As summer approached Los Angeles, the ripple effects of that winter night continued to spread in unexpected ways. The story caught the attention of city officials in other major urban areas, who began reaching out to learn more about the Warm Haven program. What had started as one man's decision to stop his car on a cold night was now inspiring similar initiatives across the country. One particularly hot afternoon, Shaq received a video call that brought tears to his eyes. It was from a group of children in Chicago who had started their own version of Tommy's kindness journal. They shared stories of how their community had come together to create safe spaces for kids with working parents, directly inspired by what they'd heard about the Los Angeles program. Back at the original Warm Haven Center, Tommy had become something of a local legend among the younger kids. Not because of his connection to Shaq, but because of his natural ability to make every new child feel welcome. "Remember," he'd often say to newcomers, "being scared doesn't mean you're not brave. Sometimes being brave means asking for help." The center had become a hub of innovation in unexpected ways. A local tech startup had noticed how many of the children were interested in computers and began offering weekly coding workshops. Tommy, who had once been too shy to speak up in class, was now one of the most enthusiastic participants, dreaming of creating apps that could help other kids in difficult situations. Shaq made it a point to stay involved, but not in ways that drew attention to himself. He would often slip in quietly during afternoon sessions, sometimes helping with homework, other times just listening to the children's stories. He noticed how the kids had developed their own support system, looking out for each other in ways that went beyond the program's official scope. One day, a new challenge emerged that tested the strength of the community they'd built. A heavy summer storm had caused flooding in parts of the city, forcing several families from their homes. Without hesitation, the Warm Haven network sprang into action. Parents who had been helped by the program now stepped up to offer temporary housing to affected families. The centers extended their hours to accommodate children whose parents were dealing with the crisis. Tommy's mother, who had become a respected leader in the community, coordinated much of the relief effort. "When I think back to that cold night," she told a group of worried parents, "I remember how one person's kindness changed everything for us. Now it's our turn to be that kindness for someone else." The response to the crisis showcased how much the community had grown. Local restaurants that had partnered with Warm Haven provided hot meals. The coding class kids created a simple website to coordinate donations and volunteer efforts. Even the youngest children contributed, making welcome cards for displaced families. Shaq watched all this unfold with quiet pride, remembering how it all started with a simple choice to stop and help. He saw how the program had evolved beyond his initial vision, becoming something that belonged to the community itself. The children weren't just receiving help, they were actively participating in making their community stronger. During this time, Tommy's journal project had grown into something bigger. With help from his coding class, he had started a digital platform where kids from all the centers could share their stories of kindness. Each entry was a reminder that heroism often came in small, everyday moments: a shared lunch, a helping hand with homework, a friendly word to someone having a bad day. The platform caught the attention of child development experts who saw its potential for teaching emotional intelligence and community engagement. They noted how children who participated showed increased empathy and better problem-solving skills. Tommy's simple idea was becoming a tool for positive social change. One evening, as Shaq sat in on a community meeting at the center, he listened as parents and children discussed plans for the future. They talked about expanding the program's mental health support services, creating more opportunities for physical activity, and finding ways to help other communities start their own programs. What struck him most was how organic the discussion felt. These weren't people following a prescribed program, they were active participants in shaping their community's future. The conversation flowed naturally between adults and children, each voice given equal weight and respect. Tommy, who had been quietly taking notes, suddenly spoke up with an idea that captured everyone's attention. He proposed creating a mentorship program where older kids who had been helped by Warm Haven could guide newcomers. Because sometimes, he explained, the best person to help you is someone who remembers what it feels like to need help. The suggestion was met with enthusiasm, particularly from parents who had seen their own children transform from being helped to becoming helpers. It was a perfect example of how the program had evolved, from a safety net into a ladder that helped people climb higher and then reach back to help others up. As the meeting wrapped up, Shaq found himself thinking about the countless lives touched by that one moment on a cold night. The story had never been just about him or even about Tommy. It was about the incredible potential for change that exists in every community, waiting to be unleashed by simple acts of kindness. The arrival of fall brought new challenges and opportunities to the Warm Haven community. As the program's success story spread, it attracted attention from unexpected quarters. A documentary filmmaker approached Shaq with an idea to capture the spirit of what had been created, not focusing on the celebrity angle, but on the everyday heroes who had emerged from the community. Initially, Shaq was hesitant about bringing cameras into the space that had become a sanctuary for so many. But it was Tommy who helped change his mind. "Our story might help other cities do the same thing," the boy reasoned, showing wisdom beyond his years. Besides, the real story isn't about that cold night anymore, it's about what happened after. The filming process revealed layers of impact that even Shaq hadn't fully realized. The documentary crew discovered countless small stories of transformation: a grandmother who had started a reading circle that grew into a literacy program, a shy teenager who found her voice through the center's poetry workshops, a local chef who taught cooking classes and ended up creating a culinary training program for parents. Tommy's role in the community continued to evolve. Now approaching his 9th birthday, he had developed a special talent for spotting new kids who were struggling to fit in. "I remember how it feels," he explained to the documentary team, "when you're scared but trying not to show it. Sometimes all you need is one person to say, 'I see you.'" The film crew captured a particularly moving moment when Tommy helped a new arrival, a quiet boy who reminded many of how Tommy himself had been that cold night. The new child barely spoke and kept to himself, but Tommy's gentle persistence slowly broke through those barriers. "You know," Tommy told him, "the biggest guy I know was once scared too. Being scared is just part of being brave." Shaq, watching this interaction from across the room, felt a profound sense of how the cycle of kindness was perpetuating itself. The scared child from that winter night had become a source of strength for others, proving that when people are lifted up, they naturally reach back to lift others. The documentary also highlighted how the program had adapted to meet various community needs. When they discovered that some parents struggled with transportation, a local rideshare company stepped in to provide free rides. When homework help wasn't enough, retired teachers created specialized tutoring programs. Each challenge became an opportunity for the community to grow stronger. One of the most powerful segments focused on the parents who had found new purpose through the program. Tommy's mother, now a key figure in the organization, had started a support group for single parents that became a model for similar programs across the city. "We're not just helping kids," she explained to the camera, "we're helping families rebuild their dreams." The filming process itself became a catalyst for new initiatives. When the crew interviewed local business owners who had supported the program, it sparked conversations about creating job training and apprenticeship opportunities for the parents. A local community college offered to provide free classes to parents who wanted to advance their education. Shaq's involvement had evolved too. While he remained the program's most prominent supporter, he had intentionally stepped back to let the community take ownership. "The real magic," he told the documentary team, "happens when people realize they don't need a celebrity to make change happen. They just need each other." The film captured beautiful moments of everyday life at the centers: children helping each other with homework, parents sharing resources and advice, volunteers going above and beyond their assigned duties. These simple interactions painted a picture of what community could look like when people chose to invest in each other. Tommy's digital kindness platform had grown into something remarkable. Children from different centers would share stories and ideas, creating a network of support that extended beyond physical locations. The platform became a tool for teaching digital literacy while fostering emotional intelligence and community engagement. One afternoon, the film crew captured an impromptu gathering where children from different centers connected via video chat to share their experiences. The conversation naturally turned to dreams and aspirations, with kids talking about how the program had helped them believe in themselves. Tommy, listening intently, added his own perspective: "Sometimes the biggest dreams start with the smallest moments of kindness." The documentary team was particularly moved by the wall of photos in the original center, which had become a living timeline of the program's growth. Among pictures of special events and everyday moments, Tommy's original drawing of that cold night still held a place of honor. Next to it now hung dozens of other drawings, each telling its own story of hope and transformation. As autumn leaves began to fall in Los Angeles, the filming wrapped up with a community celebration. Children performed songs they had written, parents shared testimonials, and local supporters spoke about their commitment to the program's future. But perhaps the most powerful moment came when Tommy stood up to speak, his voice clear and confident, a far cry from the shivering child Shaq had found that winter night. As winter approached again, marking almost a year since that fateful night, the Warm Haven program faced its biggest challenge yet. The documentary's early screenings had brought national attention, and requests for help in establishing similar programs were pouring in from cities across the country. The question wasn't just about expansion anymore, it was about preserving the heart and soul of what made Warm Haven special while helping others create their own versions. One chilly morning, Shaq sat down with Tommy and his mother for a heart-to-heart conversation about the future. The boy who had once been too scared to speak now confidently shared his ideas about how to help other communities start their own programs. "We need to teach them that it's not just about the buildings or the programs," Tommy explained, "it's about making everyone feel like they belong." The documentary had captured something special that resonated with viewers: the authentic spirit of community that had grown organically from that first act of kindness. Footage of Tommy helping newer kids, parents supporting each other, and volunteers going above and beyond had touched hearts across the nation. But more importantly, it had shown others that creating positive change in their own communities was possible. A particularly moving segment featured interviews with local business owners who had supported the program. A coffee shop owner broke down in tears describing how helping the community had given his business new purpose. "We're not just selling coffee anymore," he explained, "we're building a better neighborhood for our children." The program's impact on education had become undeniable. Teachers reported significant improvements in attendance and academic performance among Warm Haven kids. The combination of stable after-school care, homework help, and emotional support had created an environment where children could truly focus on learning. Tommy's own grades had improved dramatically, and he had discovered a passion for writing and public speaking. One day, a group of city planners from Chicago visited the center to learn more about the program. They found Tommy giving a tour to new families, explaining how everything worked with the confidence of someone who had lived both sides of the story. "The most important thing," he told them, "is that everyone who comes through that door knows they matter." The visit coincided with a special project Tommy had initiated, a time capsule containing messages from everyone involved in the program. Each person wrote about what Warm Haven meant to them and their hopes for the future. Shaq's contribution was simple but powerful. "Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest choices. Choose kindness." The program's success had also begun to influence local policy. City officials, seeing the positive impact on families and communities, started looking at ways to support similar initiatives across Los Angeles. The model of combining childcare, education, and community support had proven more effective than traditional after-school programs. As the documentary neared its public release, the Warm Haven community prepared for increased attention. But their focus remained firmly on the day-to-day work of supporting families and children. Tommy had become particularly protective of new arrivals, ensuring they didn't feel overwhelmed by any media presence. "Your story belongs to you," he would tell them, "and you decide when and how to share it." The program's technology initiative had grown into something remarkable. The coding classes had evolved into a full-fledged digital skills program, with older students teaching younger ones. Tommy's Kindness platform had become a model for digital community building, showing how technology could be used to strengthen real-world connections rather than replace them. One afternoon, during a community meeting, a parent shared something that captured the essence of what Warm Haven had become. "Before this program," she said, "I thought being strong meant handling everything alone. Now I know that true strength is found in community, in helping each other, in being there for each other." The meeting room walls told their own story of growth and change. Alongside children's artwork and achievement certificates hung photos of community milestones, the opening of new centers, graduation celebrations for parents who had completed education programs, and countless moments of everyday kindness caught on camera. Shaq, who had been quietly observing from the back of the room, reflected on how far things had come from that cold night. The program had grown beyond anything he could have imagined, but its success wasn't measured in numbers or expansion plans. It was measured in the confidence of children like Tommy, in the relief of parents who no longer had to choose between work and their children's safety, and in the strength of a community that had learned to support its own. As winter settled over Los Angeles once again, the original Warm Haven Center prepared for a special anniversary celebration. The event wasn't just about marking time, it was about honoring the countless small acts of kindness that had created something extraordinary. Tommy had insisted on including a candle-lighting ceremony, where each person would light someone else's candle, creating a chain of light symbolizing how kindness spreads from person to person. The documentary's director, who had captured so many powerful moments over the months of filming, observed that the real story wasn't just about a basketball legend helping a cold child. It was about how that moment had awakened something in an entire community, a reminder that every person has the power to make a difference, and that those differences, when woven together, can transform entire neighborhoods, cities, and perhaps even the world. The documentary's premiere night transformed a local Los Angeles theater into a celebration of community spirit. Families from all Warm Haven centers gathered, not just to watch their story on screen, but to witness how a single act of kindness had sparked a movement. The atmosphere was electric with excitement, but also heavy with the weight of meaningful memories. Tommy, dressed in his best suit, a gift from Shaq, sat in the front row with his mother. As the lights dimmed and the film began, the audience watched their collective journey unfold. The opening scene showed the bus stop where it all began, now transformed into a warm, welcoming rest area with heating lamps and emergency contact information, a direct result of the program's advocacy for safer public spaces. The documentary skillfully wove together personal stories with the broader impact of the Warm Haven initiative. One particularly touching segment featured a time-lapse of the original center's transformation, from a basic after-school facility to a vibrant community hub. The walls, once bare, now showcased a beautiful mural designed by the children, depicting their journey from darkness to light. During a scene showing Tommy helping new arrivals at the center, his mother squeezed his hand tight. On screen, a shy newcomer was asking Tommy how he knew things would get better. Tommy's response brought tears to many eyes, because sometimes the scariest nights lead to the brightest mornings. I know because I lived it. The film captured moments that even regular visitors to the centers hadn't seen, late-night planning sessions where parents and volunteers brainstormed solutions to community challenges, quiet moments of triumph as children mastered difficult homework problems, spontaneous celebrations when parents secured better jobs or completed educational programs. Shaq's role in the documentary was intentionally understated, appearing mainly through the eyes of the community members. He showed us that real strength isn't about being the biggest or the most famous, one parent commented on screen. It's about being there when someone needs you, and then teaching them to be there for others. The technology initiative featured prominently in the film, showing how the centers had bridged the digital divide in their communities. Scenes of grandparents learning computer skills from teenage tutors, parents attending virtual job interviews, and children creating their own educational apps illustrated how access to technology had opened new doors for everyone involved. One of the most powerful segments focused on the ripple effects in the local business community. The coffee shop owner who had initially provided free hot chocolate on cold days had expanded his involvement to create a barista training program for parents seeking new career opportunities. Other local businesses had followed suit, creating a network of support that extended far beyond the center's walls. The documentary didn't shy away from showing challenges. It captured honest discussions about funding concerns, growing pains, and the delicate balance of expanding while maintaining the program's personal touch. But it also showed how the community consistently came together to find solutions, proving that collective wisdom often surpassed individual expertise. Tommy's digital kindness platform received special attention in the film. What had started as a simple idea had evolved into a powerful tool for connecting communities across the country. The platform now included features for coordinating volunteer efforts, sharing resources between centers, and documenting the growing network of kindness initiatives inspired by Warm Haven. Perhaps the most touching moment came when the film showed a candlelight vigil held during a power outage at one of the centers. Instead of sending children home, the community had turned it into an impromptu storytelling session. The sight of dozens of small flames illuminating faces as people shared their stories became a powerful metaphor for the program's impact. The documentary also explored how the program had influenced local policy. City council meetings were shown where Warm Haven parents and children testified about the importance of after-school programs and community support systems. Their advocacy had led to increased funding for similar initiatives across the city and inspired other communities to examine their own approaches to family support. As the film progressed, it became clear that the story had evolved far beyond its original scope. What had started as a tale of rescue had become a chronicle of community empowerment. The cameras captured countless moments of everyday heroism, a child sharing their lunch with a hungry friend, a parent staying late to help another family move, a volunteer going door to door during a heat wave to check on elderly neighbors. The program's impact on education was documented through interviews with local teachers and school administrators. They spoke about improved attendance rates, better academic performance, and most importantly, a newfound sense of possibility among students who had previously struggled to envision a future for themselves. Near the end of the documentary, Tommy shared a poignant reflection. "People sometimes ask me if I remember being scared that night at the bus stop. I do remember, but I also remember the moment I stopped being scared, not just because someone helped me, but because I learned that help is always there if we're brave enough to ask for it and kind enough to give it." As the documentary screening came to an end, the theater erupted in applause, but the real celebration was just beginning. The community had organized a special gathering at the original Warm Haven Center, where it all started. The once simple building had been transformed for the evening, its walls adorned with hundreds of photos chronicling their collective journey. Outside, the same bus stop where Shaq had found Tommy now stood as a symbol of hope, complete with a small plaque that read, "Kindness starts here." Local artists had transformed it into a beautiful shelter, with heating lamps and a direct line to emergency services. But more importantly, it served as a reminder that sometimes the darkest moments can lead to the brightest futures. During the celebration, Tommy took the stage, his confidence a testament to how far he'd come. "You know," he began, his voice clear and strong, "people often ask me what it felt like to be rescued by Shaq that night. But the truth is, he didn't just rescue me, he showed all of us how to rescue each other." The evening was filled with stories of transformation. A local business owner shared how participating in the program had given his employees a sense of purpose beyond their daily work. A teacher described how the center had changed the atmosphere in her classroom, as students began looking out for each other in new ways. Parents spoke about how the community support had allowed them to pursue their own dreams while ensuring their children were safe and cared for. The technology hub at the center had become a model for other communities. That evening, they connected via video call with similar programs starting up in Chicago, Atlanta, and Detroit. Each group shared their progress and challenges, creating a nationwide network of support. Tommy's digital platform had become the backbone of this connection, allowing communities to share resources and ideas across distances. Shaq, watching from the back of the room, reflected on how the program had evolved beyond anything he could have imagined. The basketball legend had intentionally kept a low profile, understanding that the true power of the program lay in the community's ownership of it. But tonight, he felt compelled to share his thoughts. "You know," he said, stepping forward, "in basketball, we talk a lot about assists, helping another player score. But what I've learned from all of you is that the greatest assists happen off the court, in moments when we choose to stop and help someone in need." The celebration included a special ceremony where new communities preparing to start their own programs received starter kits developed by the Warm Haven team. These weren't just procedural manuals, they were collections of stories, lessons learned, and practical advice gathered from everyone involved in the program's growth. Tommy's mother, now a respected community leader, spoke about the ripple effects of kindness. "That night changed our lives," she said, "but not just because we received help. It changed us because we learned how to turn our own experience into help for others. That's the real miracle of Warm Haven, it teaches us all how to be the light we needed in our darkest moments." The program's impact on education had become clear through data, but the real success stories were written on the faces of the children who had found a second home in the centers. Academic improvement was important, but the growth in confidence, empathy, and leadership skills among the young participants was immeasurable. Local government officials attended the celebration, not just as observers but as partners in the program's success. They announced plans to incorporate elements of the Warm Haven model into citywide youth and family services, recognizing that community-driven solutions often worked better than top-down approaches. As the evening progressed, the celebration moved outdoors, where families had organized a lantern release ceremony. Each lantern carried messages of hope and commitment written by community members. The sight of hundreds of lights rising into the night sky created a powerful image of how far they'd come from that cold, dark night. Tommy stood next to Shaq, watching the lanterns rise. "You know what I've learned," he said, looking up at the gentle giant who had changed his life. "Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest choices. You chose to stop that night. Now we all choose to keep stopping, to keep helping, to keep making things better." The documentary crew captured this moment, but they also captured something more subtle: the quiet conversations happening throughout the crowd, the spontaneous hugs, the promises being made to continue the work they'd started. These were the moments that showed how deeply the program had transformed not just services or systems, but hearts and minds. Near the end of the evening, a group of children performed a song they had written about their warm haven experience. The lyrics spoke of darkness turning to light, of strangers becoming family, of fear transformed into hope. As their voices filled the night air, many in the audience wiped away tears, remembering their own journeys from darkness to light. The final moment of the celebration came when Tommy unveiled a new addition to the center, a wall-sized digital display showing real-time connections between Warm Haven programs across the country. Each point of light represented a center, each line between them a shared story or resource. It was a powerful visualization of how a single act of kindness could grow into a nationwide movement. As the celebration wound down, Shaq and Tommy stood once more at the bus stop where their story began. The basketball legend placed a gentle hand on the boy's shoulder. "Look how far we've come," Shaq said softly. Tommy nodded, then added with wisdom beyond his years, "And look how far we still can go." The story of that cold night had become more than just a tale of rescue. It had become a blueprint for community transformation, a reminder that within every challenge lies the seed of something greater. As the last guests departed, the lights of the Warm Haven Center continued to shine, a beacon of hope in the night, promising shelter, support, and kindness to all who needed it.